Welcome to Season 3 of Digging Deep with Dr. Christie K. Thank you so much for being here and for choosing to spend a few moments of your day with me. These shows this season were thoughtfully curated with you in mind to inspire, challenge, encourage, and invite meaningful reflection around life, leadership, purpose, faith, and legacy. As you listen, I invite you to lean in. Take what speaks to you and allow the conversation to meet you right where you are. If today's episode resonates, please take a moment to like, share, and even subscribe. Your support helps these conversations reach others who may need them just as much. Now, let's dig deep together. There's a special kind of strength in a woman who refuses to choose between her family and her dreams. A woman who believes she can nurture both. Today on Digging Deep with Dr. Christie K, I'm joined by the incredible Chelly Watts, the powerhouse behind Comeback Cookie. Her story isn't just about starting a business, it's about making a comeback. It's about rediscovering herself as a wife, a mother, and a visionary leader, all at the same time. Today, we unpack what it really looks like to balance marriage, motherhood, and a thriving business. The beauty, the chaos, the cookies, and the calling. So settle in. This one is sweet, honest, and full of truth. Welcome to the show, Chelly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. I know that you're super busy all the time serving God's people with your cookies and your content. So the fact that you took the time to come in and talk about your journey means so much to me and to my listeners. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm blessed that you would even allow us in this space that God has cultivated for you. So thank you again for having me and my business.
Absolutely. So tell me, what does a typical day for you consist of?
So a typical day now, since I've been in this new season, it starts at about 5:30 in the morning. I'm getting up, I'm reading my word, I'm praying, just being intentional with the morning, trying to do as much as I can before everyone else wakes up, starting new practices of how to write grants, how to show up for my business, and then maneuvering into being a wife and being a mother and still showing up as a friend. So that starts off early in the morning. A lot of times here lately, I have been spending a lot of my time with God. So whereas in the past, I would be on the phone talking, maybe scrolling on social media, a lot of this time is now dedicated to silence, baking and spending time with God and making space so that I can hear what I need to hear when I need to hear it, and praying a lot of the time, making dinner early in the morning. So by 5:30, dinner is already made. I'm not rushing or prepping the day so that I know what that's going to look like. Being a mom throughout the day, showing up how I need to show up. So that's going to be a typical afternoon, and we're delivering. So we're typically delivering in the morning. We have specific days that we're delivering and having a turnaround time of 24 hours to get back with each and every customer. So that is a typically a busy day. I'm still trying to make space to go to bed at a decent time before 10 o'clock so that I'm taking care of myself, because in previous times I felt like I wasn't really doing that. So now I'm being intentional with my time.
That's amazing. So many things that you mentioned: taking care of your family, taking care of the business, taking care of yourself, and staying connected to God. And so many people who are in business for themselves feel that they cannot do all those things because they don't have the support system to allow them to pivot when needed. And so I've watched your content on social media, how you talk about how supportive, your husband is, and the boundaries that you set with your clients, where they know what you expect, and they know what you expect, and you know what they expect, so that the communication is what's needed for excellence. And I really commend you on that.
Thank you.
Yes. So what moment inspired your comeback, and how did Comeback Cookie become part of your healing and empowerment?
So my comeback didn't really just start with cookies. It started with me being in a survival mode. Okay. And a lot of times I feel like as women, we don't even realize that we're in that survival mode. So I was in a season where I felt like I was stretched emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Because we don't really realize that we're wrestling against the spiritual principalities, or our flesh. And so baking just became a place where my mind could be quiet, so I could hear God's voice. And that in itself that has so much context, because we're waiting for God to show up, but we don't have a space where we can allow God to show up for us. So I used that space to hear God, and where my hands could create something. I didn't really need to rely on someone else to build something for me. God had already given me the tools that I needed, which consisted of my mind and my hands. And so building Comeback Cookie, it's a reminder of me, like when life is knocking me down or has knocked me down, there's a space for me to rebuild something beautiful with my faith, with my obedience, with the ingredients that I have in my kitchen. Because sometimes we're going outside of our space to try and find God when God is right there. We just need to create the space or make room for it. And so for me, these were all moments that created a part of my comeback, which I'm still in. And so each one of my cookies, they represent resilience. Because my healing it's not loud. I'm not like, look at me. It's more of like, I'm smiling through all of the adversity. It came slow. It came intentional. It came warm. It was meaningful. And so that's what my business represents during this season of me healing and my empowerment.
I'm listening to you talk, and where you are, it takes many people years to get to. How long have you been with the idea and the business of Comeback Cookie?
So last year, I was still in a comeback space, but didn't even know I was in a comeback space. I kind of made this little joke with God and said, hey, if they get rid of this pension plan, I'm going to quit my job. And I wanted to quit my job for so many other reasons. Like, I wanted to be more present with my children. I wanted to make more time for everyone else, and really not even acknowledging the time that I needed for myself or for God. And so it was last year that it came to me, but it was this year that I made the intentionality in January to show up for myself. And one of the things I asked God for was spiritual boldness, not even knowing what that would exist or consist of. And so that's when He gave it to me. And it was this June that I realized, you know what, God He literally dropped it in my spirit and said, okay, it's time for you to quit. And I kind of went back and forth. And I ended up quitting June 8th, which was my 4-year anniversary with this company that I love. Like, I was just making, I was making really, really good money. And I had a really awesome boss. And it was a work from home job. I had a perfect schedule. I worked 7 to 4, so I'm thinking, like, this is awesome. It doesn't get much better than this, but God did not allow me to stay on that job. I lost my voice for about 2 weeks. I'm not a person that normally gets sick, and I got sick. And as many times as my boss tried to keep me, it was like God was like, no, this ain't your space no more. Yeah. Like, I need you somewhere else. And I kept saying, this was in June, like, I just want to be more present for my kids. Not even that I wasn't present. It was, I wanted to show up more. But little did I know that God was really forming that space for me to get closer to Him, to rely on Him. And that's where I'm at now.
And you being closer to him gives you the energy, the boldness, the security to be able to be more present for your kids. And I truly believe as mothers, we forget that we have to feed ourselves. Just like in the airplane, they say turbulence comes and the mask drop, save yourself, put mask on first, and then save your kids or those who you're taking care of. We have to make sure that we take care of ourselves so we have the energy.
Yes.
How has motherhood changed the way you see business and the way you see yourself?
So motherhood has changed the way I see everything. I became a mother at 19, and I would have never thought I would be in the space that I'm in now, because I just didn't, I don't think I really believed that I could be where I am now spiritually. I grew up in church, but I just wasn't fully there, right? So motherhood has given me patience. And so, like you're aware, when you become a mother, you learn something new every day. You know, there's no 2 days that are the same. You learn yourself all over again. And in this space, in this comeback space, I've learned myself all over again. I've learned what I like, what I don't like. There's no manual to being a mother. I think sometimes we are so hard on ourselves because we're not dotting the I's, crossing the T's. I say that for myself. But there's no one that's perfect, you know, so it's all trial, it's grace, it's growth. And that all happens at the same time. So there's not one thing that just takes place and then it's like, okay, go to the next thing. And so that same patience, it just carries over into my business, right? So entrepreneurship has taught me that I do not have to have everything figured out. Sometimes we think, okay, I'm not going to put this content out unless it's really, really perfect. And that was me. Like, I can't make these, oh no, that, you know, I have some fog on the camera, or I don't have these boxes right, or I don't have this, or I don't know if they can hear me. Am I supposed to? It's so many different things. And that's me, like, as a mother too. And so what I realized is I just have to keep going. We all have to keep going. Nobody has it figured out. You know, you haven't been a mother before. You're learning how to be a mother. You're learning yourself. You're trusting the process. You're trusting God's timing, and believe that God can show me when, where, how to do it step by step. And so as a woman, I've learned that modeling faith, perseverance, and obedience, that means more than perfection, right? So the journey is shaping me as much as I'm shaping it. So I feel like motherhood has so many different realms to it. I'm still, you know, tapping the surface there.
Yeah. You know, I'm thinking about when I started 10 years ago, Kennedy, my baby, was, let's see, she's 19 now, so she was 9 when I started the funeral home. And thinking from 9 to 19, I've had to apologize to her, you know, while she's in college and before she left for college. Like, baby, if I had known that, I've always known that God had me in everything. But if I had fully rested in that, I would not have been so stressed out trying to make things work that I missed this game or I missed this event, you know, what have you. And so many people, not just women, but so many people feel the strain of being, quote unquote, the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect child, the perfect sibling, the perfect friend, the perfect coworker. And perfect is relative, and who wants to be perfect anyway? Because in imperfection, God is not an imperfection.
Yep.
The only time we will reach imperfection is when we close our eyes, and hopefully you'll choose Mansfield Funeral Home. That's when you're perfect because you're in His presence. Okay. And so I finally had to realize that we should strive to be excellent, which means we've done all that we can humanly do to make things right. Perfection, no. Okay. Many people struggle with guilt of balancing the things that I just said, the marriage, the kids, and business and family. Do you see yourself, you know, having to balance, and how do you balance it? Because for me, I have to just say, Christy, it's okay. Like even today was an extremely stressful day leading up to us sitting down and talking. I'm ripping and running everywhere. I'm getting phone calls. I had to stop. I pulled my truck over and I prayed and I said to myself, you are okay. everybody's okay, calm down. And I did deep breathing until my heart rate slowed, until I could then think clearly, and then everything starts to just kind of fall in line. So do you do similar things? What do you think?
Yeah, so it's funny you said that. I was listening to Cheryl Brady this morning, and as I was listening to the message, what resonated with me was that our minds, right? So we things start in our mind first, and so to carry that emotional load, or of being a mom, being a wife, being a friend, being a business owner, as I stated before, I'm getting up before everybody else. Not so I can carry everybody else's load, but more so I can be more proactive, not just reactive to whatever they're saying, their feelings, their emotions. I get up and I have learned this year that getting up, reading my Bible has really helped calm me. And so whereas things would have bothered me before, I am really learning to give people grace, because you really don't know what people are dealing with. We see things all the time on social media. We hear about people going through different things, and we're saying like, okay, well, what happened here? What happened there? But you don't really know what's going on with people's emotions. So I'm learning to prioritize what needs to come first without guilt, right? Learning that God comes first, my marriage, my children, my business. So whenever the foundation is set, then everything else gets better. And like you said, nothing is perfect, right? So I found myself apologizing. Maybe I was moving too fast, or maybe I forgot something. And I've learned that as a woman, as a mother, as an entrepreneur, it's okay to apologize, because we make mistakes. We're not perfect, And I've also learned that, God gives us therapists. I have a therapist. Like, I have a therapist as someone who has an unbiased opinion of me, but she knows me because we've been working together for now almost 2 years. So she gives me a different perspective. And I think sometimes we need to reach outside of just the friends and the family. You don't have to call everybody up to tell them what you're going through. And a lot of times God is just waiting for us to just really dump to him.
Yes.
We're just trying to dump to everybody else. And so that has helped me emotionally. Go to him first, and prayer. We don't know how much power is in prayer. It helps and it alleviates all of those things in our minds. And then finding something that God has presented us with, like a therapist. You utilize those people. That's why God has given them their jobs to be able to help us.
That's right. That's right. And you said something very interesting. I've had many debates about this, the hierarchy of the attention and the care that you should give. God, this is my ideal. God, self, spouse, kids. Some people are like, no, it should be God, self, kids, spouse. And I'm like, no. So and you just said God, and then you mentioned the spouse before kids. Okay. So what has been your biggest lesson as a wife while building a business that demands your time and creativity?
So one of the biggest lessons is that understanding that my vision, it doesn't unfold for both of us at the same time, right? So God gave me the vision. He didn't give my husband the vision. And I think sometimes we think that because I'm moving, my husband's supposed to be moving, or my significant other is supposed to be moving right with me, but he doesn't give the vision to both people at the same time. And so I had to learn that it takes the mission a little bit, maybe some time for it to settle with him. He doesn't have to move right away, because there was times when I felt like, okay, well, he sees what I'm doing. He's supposed to be moving too. But that's just not how God works. He doesn't give everybody the same thing at the same time. And then whenever God has a time that he'll reveal it to him, then he'll do that. He'll do that in his time, not in Chelly's time. And so my job is really to remain and be a steward of what I'm supposed to be doing, be consistent, and then show that this is something that God gave me. I don't have to convince my husband that he should be jumping on board, because eventually he'll see where I'm at, and then he'll he'll jump on with me, but it just takes time, because everybody's not learning at the same speed. We're not getting everything at the same time,
Yeah. Now, this is a touchy subject, staying on the marriage thing when it comes to entrepreneurs, because, a lot of times you have one person that jumped out on faith and they are in the business, and someone else who's like, well, that's not me. That's not my dream. Like you said, that's not my vision. And now there's bickering and dissension in the home. And this is just a general statement because one spouse is saying, well, I didn't sign up for that. So I shouldn't have to help. I shouldn't. So for the listeners who are dealing with that, they're on the entrepreneur side and their spouse is not helping. Them not helping is actually hindering their progress. Either they're having to pay someone else to do what their spouse could do, so now they're spending more money on payroll, or it's keeping them out of the house more. They're having to get daycare or what have you. What advice can you give someone who's struggling with a non-supportive spouse?
Well, if I'm just being transparent, we start off like that.
Okay.
And it's not always butterflies and sunshine. But if I had to give any advice, it would be to focus on what God gave you. Because if you're so focused on that person not helping, that actually hinders your business from moving forward. So try to look at it as, don't focus on the negative. We always say focus on the positive. Let life come out of our mouth. Focus on what you're doing, what God gave you. Because eventually God will either move that person, move the business, God will bless the business, and that person has no choice but to jump on. But if you're focusing on just what he or she is just not doing, then that actually hurts you more than because all of that time and that energy could be focused on to building the business. And before you know it, God will send you people to help you in spaces. I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, hey, what do you need help with? I want to help you. I've had people in my DMs and I'm just thinking like, well, what do they want? Sometimes they don't want anything. They don't even want to get paid. And I'm just like, okay, this can't be real. But I've had people say, how can I help you? So if your spouse is not jumping on right away, it's just not that time. If you focus on what you're supposed to be doing, your mission, because again, you could lose the mission by focusing on what they're not doing.
Right.
So you focus on that, and that's what I've had to do. And now it's where when I call my husband, he's excited. He's like, okay, well, what do we need to do? Or he's giving ideas. I used to tell him, hey, if we have an event on Saturday, don't give me ideas on Friday, because listen, I can't switch up nothing the day before. And so, you know what? I stay consistent with that, and we'd make it into a joke, but I really was, I was very serious. Like, don't try to give me advice the day before. I can't just go switch up the
your
whole,
mouth. Keep it to yourself to the next event.
Like, but now it's to the point where I'm excited to call and tell him about just all the little things, because even if we got to get out of our own mind, maybe sometimes it don't always have to be that they're not listening or they're not this. No, maybe it's us. We're stuck in an old habit that maybe we've seen before. Change the way that you look at things. And that's where I'm at. I am actually changing how I look at things. Sometimes I'm like, but am I being, where am I at? Am I being real? But I am. And you know what? It brings me joy,
I love that. And since, and I believe in transparency, you being transparent, I'll be transparent. I was in a relationship and I had no support. However, the person wanted to spend the money. They didn't want to help make the money. And I'm like, I'm literally running myself in the ground. And when it's time to spend the money, you right there. But when it's time to make the money, right, you got something else to do. And so I decided for myself that was not the relationship that I needed to be in. The work that I do here at the funeral home can be so heavy emotionally that the person that I'm with has to provide the environment where I don't have to do much thinking once I leave here. And my daughter's in college, so I'm an empty nester. But it's not just the emotional. It's if I call you and say, I need you, it's because I'm not trying to take you away from what you're doing. It's that I've exhausted all other possibilities and I need you to come. And so that's what I require in my, relationship now. But I had to come to the understanding, like you said, just because I say move, this is another human being that I'm addressing. I can't expect them to move lock and step, specifically according. I have to respect their space as well. And so it took years of ownership for me to learn that. Yeah. And so I'm glad that you've been in business less than a year, like officially in business, and you've already gained that. And I'm sure that it has blessed your marriage and blessed your finances and you all being parents, because your kids get to see you all working together. So I commend you for that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
When all of the cookies are baked, the events are done, the kids are in the bed, your spouse is doing whatever he's doing, what brings you back? Is it meditation? Is it a specific TV show? What do you do that brings you back centered to prepare you for the next day?
So, my faith. Because I stepped out on faith. And so, my walk with God, and it has changed me. A lot of times I'm still like, okay, Chelly, you're talking about God. And I have seen where at times I have talked about God and, people have turned an ear to it, a deaf ear. They don't want to hear that because it's not something tangible. You can't see faith. You can't see God. These are things that you are believing. And so that's grounded me and made me center and just say, you know what, this is my focus, and God is pulling me through, God is helping me. And so my faith has really superseded what I thought and where I thought I would even be right now.
Yeah, I understand that. And for our listeners who are tuning in, I could only imagine they're like, okay, she got there very, very quickly as far as like time. If you started Comeback Cookie in June, you quit, started Comeback Cookie, and we're December 2025. And I say all the time to my family and friends, I'm going to say here on the show, God will act just that quick. Time is nothing. Time is a second or 10 years. It's about your faith. It's about your walk. It's about your belief in your ability to do it. And for those of you all who are stuck on jobs and God told you to step out, Chelly and myself, we're both living testimonies that once you take the step, He's got you. Now, you jumping out there, you be prepared.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Be prepared, because when you jump out there, you may jump in the deep. But the one thing we know, that our lifeguard is God.
Yes.
With everything. I remember when I started Mansfield, I bought the place, I think it was on a Thursday. I found out on Friday that the team that we were going to put in place while I kept my 6-figure job didn't know anything that was going on. I had to quit my 6-figure job and start writing checks for myself out of money that I did not budget for. So I've literally been walking on faith for 10 years.
Wow.
6 figures.
Yeah.
And when I walked into that office and I told my manager, I'm going to have to quit because I just started a business. Jesus. They were like, you can't do both. I was like, no, because the team that I have, they do not operate the way that I need them to. And if I try to divide my time, God is not going to be pleased.
Yep.
And they were like, well, you do know you're going from 6 figures, like, well, it's not no 100,000. I was well into 6 figures. 6 figures to zero with a full mortgage, a child. I was newly married. I was newly married. And I said, no, I was getting married. I hadn't gotten married yet. And I said, I understand that, but I got to go. If I stay here, God is not going to honor. He's not going to continue to honor me in my work. And I walked away, and I came here that night, and I just stood in the middle of that foyer. And I said, God, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's been on ever since.
See?
And I say that because people need to hear that it works.
It does.
It works. I had a clear understanding of what my assignment was, and all the doors, whether you fully see them or not, it's a feeling. Do you agree?
I do. Very much.
Tell me about the feeling that you had.
So it's more of like, and I can fully agree, because I feel like I'm not newly married, but I've been married for 6 years.
Okay.
But those 6 years have been some 6 years. You know, it's not peaches and cream.
Right.
It is work. Being married is a job. You know, it is a job. That is a full-time job. You're not just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about the other person. And you're a mom, you know, then you leave a job. You don't leave the job because you dislike the job or because it's not bringing in the income. You leave it because God has pulled you in a different direction. So that feeling, you know when it's your time to go. Like, you don't consult anybody. You don't tell people like, hey, what do you think I should do? Because God will then position you. And when I tell you, I got sick, I couldn't take a phone call, couldn't do a sale. And I was like, well, no, maybe I'll just stay a little bit. And God was like, no, you're not. You're going to go ahead and you're going to leave. And you know what? I will be honest. Although I was making really great money, and you're right, you'll go from making 6 figures to making no money, to making making a few dollars and making an extra few dollars. It's not the same. So don't think that when you become an entrepreneur, you're just jumping up. I'm just gonna make six figures right away. Oh, I know. You know, Christie and Chelly, they just over there making bank. No.
And it's an ebb and flow.
Yes, you are definitely like trying to figure out, okay, so are we in a loss? Are we in a profit? You know, are the books even right? You have to learn how to be a bookkeeper, which another recommendation, I would recommend you get a bookkeeper, because there's a lot of things you're going to have to do that are so tedious. You don't have time to sit there and try to figure out statements. But when you get that feeling from God, only you and God know that feeling. Everybody's not going to be in agreement with you. But when you get it, you know it's time to go. I got to go. I got to make this move. And I will say, I didn't even know I had this much joy. Like I've naturally been, you know, a happy person. You know, I smile. But I will say, even though I don't have the same amount of money, I have a peace. I have joy.
Yes.
I'm thanking God, because even though what may seem like chaos in my personal life, God turned around and he was like, okay, but let me bless you in this business.
Yes.
Let me send you in spaces and with places and with people that you didn't even know was here for you. Let me put you in these rooms.
Yes.
And I would be like, okay, I wouldn't be in this room. I wouldn't be doing this now had I kept my job and then try to bake my cookies on the side. You know, it just wasn't in God's plan. The plan was, God was like, okay, I'm going to just make it chaotic. But then as soon as you turn your back, I'm going to go ahead and have your phone ring, and I'm going to put you in this corporate space. I'm going to do this for you. So you know when that feeling comes, that feeling is between you and God. But I also want you to know that there's going to be a lot of trials. There's going to be a lot of errors. There's going to be hardships. It is for you to create and cultivate and pray to God to build a space for you, to put you in rooms. I've never even been to a funeral home. Never been to a funeral home. And when I first came here, I thought, well, gosh, this is a really nice funeral. Like, it didn't feel heavy. It felt like life. And I was thinking, okay, well, this is where I would want to, you know, get my passing and all, you know, it doesn't feel like what you think. And it's because you stepped out on faith. You did that. You made this a space where people could feel the love when they do pass. And so I'm like, this is what I'm doing with my cookie business. These aren't just cookies. This is resilience. This is an experience. This is you saying, okay, well, this is a woman who, when everything else was like, no, 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 God was like, yes, I need you to build something that I know that you love. And then I need you to give this message. I need you to show your testimony. So you want to be spiritually bold? Okay. Let me go ahead and make you spiritually bold. Like
you asked for it.
I asked, and I was like, okay, God, but hold up.
I actually,
this is not what I thought.
Right.
And sometimes I still do that. I'm like, okay, God, like for real, like I thought I asked for this, but then you're doing this. And he's like, but see, you asked for this in January. Yeah. I don't have to give it to you in the season and in the time that you want. I'm going to do it how I want to do it. And then I'm going to have you do this interview right before, so you can still give your testimony before it is calm. And I'm like, okay, God, but what are you doing? Because I'm over here crying. I'm over here trying to figure out life. And God is like, but I haven't left you. I haven't left you. And a lot of times he's looking for us to be consistent. The scripture talks about being wavery. He doesn't bless a person who's, okay, 1 minute I want to do the funeral home, then no, I think I'm gonna go back. No, he's like, I need you to know what it is that you need to do, and then I'll keep showing up. The more you keep showing up, and it may look like you might not get a client, you may not get an order, but I will tell you, there hasn't been a single week where God has not blessed me, even if it was one order. That allowed me to see that this is what God wants me to do. And the moment that I thought I didn't want to do it anymore, he was like, nope, let me allow your phone to ring and then say, hey, do you think you could do this? And I'm like, yes, I can.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
That is so good. And I know I've seen on your content, your cookies are perfectly circular, and it looks like you literally count out the chocolate chips and all the things. I love that.
Yes.
And it makes me want to enjoy it because I can look at it and tell the work that you put into it. Yes. And that's very rare because some people's food tastes good, but I'm like, did you crush this up before?
Yes.
I mean, it's good, but it looks horrible. The presentation is horrible.
Yes.
And so as you're interacting with people on your content, I can tell that they are like, oh my God, this cookie is so good. And they want to get more because having a great cookie is one thing, but having an excellent product.
Yes.
And an excellent brand. Your brand is amazing.
Thank you.
How did that even come to fruition?
So what's funny is I started with a different name back in February is when I established it, but I didn't really start anything until like March or April. And when God said, if this is something that you want to do, mind you, I hadn't quit my job till June. Didn't even know anything about the pension being gone. Didn't know. But it was like, God was like, no. I went to, let me go ahead and give God his due credit. I went to a women's event, small event, and I met this young lady. And as I was talking to another young lady about why I started my business, my comeback journey, she then said to me, she was like, you know what would be a really, really good, and she kind of gave me, some little points and tips, and I thought, okay, but I really ain't trying to do all. I ain't trying to do no amendment. I ain't trying to do no more paperwork. And then I realized, okay, you know what? I need to really dive into my name. And then that's when I realized I needed to change it, and it needed to have a meaning. It didn't need to just be any cookie, because anybody, like you said, anybody can sell cookies. You can sell food, you can sell plates. But when you have a why, when you are intentional, I know my cookies weigh 3.5 ounces. I know what type of chocolate I use. I know my scaling. I know my measurements. I know all of those small and tedious things. And if those are a part of my brand, those are things that mean something. And people can respect that because there's intention behind it. It's not just something thrown together so I can make money, because money hasn't been the issue. It was more so God wanted me to get my testimony out there. So God will use whatever he has to use, including me and these cookies, to get his word out there. And so that all became a part of the brand. And the more I kept thinking about it, what would set my brand or my business apart from any other cookie? And that's where I came up with the browning of the butter, right? So think about it. If you don't know about brown butter, it is a tedious process. You're standing over the stove. You're taking a stick of butter. You are breaking it down to its natural state. It's just like our lives, right? It's just like a comeback. God is taking us. He breaks us down to the point where we have to come and ask him. We could be living in this $1 million home, $500,000 home, and we're so used to this lifestyle. What God does is he breaks us down so that he can use us. So I break that butter down. I stand there for however many minutes and I brown it, and it turns into these brown kernels, which gives this toffee aroma. So it's a sweet aroma, but there's no sugar added, right? So it's through that process where like our lives are curated, right? He breaks us down, but then he builds us back up. In about 2 to 3 hours, I let that butter sit, and I let it sit, and it solidifies back up to its natural state. So it turns right back into a stick of butter. But the difference is when it solidifies, so when God brings our lives back up to wherever he wants us to be, it has a much sweeter taste. It doesn't look the same.
Come on.
It doesn't smell the same. And that's what a comeback is, right? It is breaking it down, breaking us all the way down, building us back up to where we need him. But we don't even come back. We don't look the same. I don't look like what I'm going through right now. You wouldn't even know that I was going through half of the stuff that I'm going through. But that's the beauty of what God does. When he builds you through a comeback, he makes it so that your comeback doesn't look like someone else's. So none of our cookies look the same. They all have their own story, just like you and I. You have a story to tell. Your comeback is different than my comeback. But in that process, I bet you've been broken. I bet you've had to get built back up. I bet God has taken some time to stir you up where you've been like, okay, I don't know if this butter is browning or if it's burning. But God is like, okay, you know what? In the end, it's something even more beautiful, and it tastes so good. So it's like, why not tell this story to other people to let them know that I went through this process? These cookies are a testament of the process, and you're not going to get the same cookie that looks like. Now the taste is great because the overall goal is God, is heaven. So we're all reaching for the same ending, but everyone's process is a little bit different, and sometimes it's a browning of the process. These ain't just regular cookies.
Yeah,
you're not just getting a cookie where I took
just
the butter,
mixing them together.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. No, we doing something a little different over here.
I love that, and I love the fact that you are in love with this tedious process. Like, you are lighting up and you're smiling, you're happy. I love that. And it makes me want to try to eat more cookies even more.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Now, since your process is so tedious, when you come out of the kitchen, let me do a would you rather outside of the kitchen.
Okay.
Would you rather take a spontaneous weekend trip with no itinerary, or plan the perfect vacation where every meal, every excursion, everything is mapped out?
I'm gonna have to go with option A.
Okay, why?
I don't need anything planned out because I'm constantly planning on an everyday basis. And although planning is good, you need that rest. You need that relaxation. You need to be where you're not trying to plan out every step, every minute, every moment of the day. You need to have fun, just like I can light up and go through the process. I think you mentioned something earlier about a partner when you said you need someone to be proactive, someone to step in. And that's where that time comes in for me to just say, you know what, I don't want to plan this. I want to have fun. I want to let my hair down. I'm going to make cookies on Monday and I'm going to start back again. But I need this time to just relax and regroup because we all work better when we have a fresh mind.
Absolutely. And that's good that you have that in your mate.
Yes.
That's so good. I want you to take the time now to talk to the listeners about being in survival mode and the importance of finding your way out.
Yeah.
Because with me dealing with death every day, a lot of my death certificates say stress related, diabetes, which is stress related, heart attacks, stroke. Majority, I don't say majority, a lot of our death certificates are from stress-related concerns, okay? And survival mode is one of if not the biggest stressors you could ever have on your body, in your mind, in your spirit. So there's somebody that's listening. God's telling me there's somebody that's listening that could use a word from you who has been in that mode and made a comeback. And now you're sitting here, and even though you may be going through things even today, you are in the mode of where you are leaning and trusting on God. And they may be afraid to take that step to lead because they're so used to doing things themselves. Take the time to talk with them.
So whoever is listening, and I'll say one of the things I carried for so long was, and didn't even realize it. I think sometimes just as a woman, as a mother, I just was always trying to be in fix it mode. Fix it. It's got to be perfect. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And I'm still learning how to just be. And the first step is realizing, I heard in a message, is you have to admit when you have an issue with being in survival mode. Like if you don't accept it and you don't say it, it's not real. But when you can say it, and then you can say, you know what, I have been in survival mode, but there is joy. And a lot of that comes from the space that you cultivate, right? So your friends, your family, your spouse, your kids, it's where you ground yourself first. And I have learned that a lot of times I needed to put God first, but I was relying on friendships. I was relying on family. I was relying on people to tell me what to do. I did not create a space. I did not create a foundation that I knew needed to be worthy of me getting out of survival mode. And so if I could give anybody just any advice, it would be that to realize that you are in survival mode and then say, okay, where do I go next? And for me personally, it was God. And then it was me. And then it was my husband, And it was realizing that I needed to take care of myself. My friend told me a long time ago, she said, you need to do some self-care. Well, I think I had went a little overboard with it because I was getting like coffees every day. But those were little things that I hadn't done for myself. And I'm not saying like go and spend thousands of dollars or you just have to leave everybody. No, it's the small things. It's getting a coffee. I even got these little drinks, these little syrups. I have this whole syrup thing in my house, and I will make my own little, smoothies or little coffee drinks. Those are things that I like. And so to get out of survival mode, you got to start doing stuff for yourself. The kids will come, but if you're not, how are you pouring from an empty cup? You don't have anything to give anybody. So it's okay to start over. It's okay to put God first, put yourself first. Everybody is carrying something. You said it earlier, nobody is perfect. Stop thinking that everybody is, either against you or they're not with you or they don't know what I'm going through. You'd be surprised how many people are going through some of the same things that we're going through, but a lot of times we're embarrassed to talk about them. I was embarrassed for a long time to talk about a lot of the stuff that I felt was just embarrassing. And I didn't realize how many people have said to me at events like, hey, just you saying you quit your job and just you stepping out on faith has helped me. And to think that we're so embarrassed of like you said, you left a marriage that you felt like just it wasn't, but that was your comeback. That was your story. And we can't compare what we're going through to somebody else's. You have to realize, hey, I'm in survival mode. I need help. They tell you that all the time in therapy. When you realize you have an issue, then you can get the help that you need. And then say, you know what? Don't wait for something tragic to happen to fix it. Just get up and you start fixing it. I heard a girl say the other day, she was saying something about, where she wanted to be with her weight loss journey. Don't wait until you hear the bad news. When it's presented to you, realize it's an issue, and then, move, because God doesn't give us what ifs. He places us stuff in our path so that we can move, and it's up to us to move. And, cultivate and place yourself around other women, other men, other people that are wanting something different. You can't say, hey, I want to lose weight, but then, I'm not putting myself in places where I need to lose the weight, or I want to be, I want to be stress-free, but then we're, being in places that are not stress-free. And so I've learned that, like, if I need help mentally and I need prayer, I need to be around people who are praying, so that's how you get out of survival mode. You take ownership. We tell our kids this, we take ownership, but we have to take ownership as adults and then say, what do I need to do? What does Chelly need to do? And that's what I did this year. I focus and have been focusing on myself and my journey and what I need to do. And although everything else may seem like, okay, it's not going right, there have been so many times where I felt like I should be crying, I should be in the bed, but God has given me peace. He has given me peace. I felt like, okay, I feel crazy. I should be sad, and I should be, but I'm not. Because I'm learning how to get out of that survival mode. But it's not me just trying to fix it on my own. It's really me leaning into God. And I feel like for me and for a lot of us, that is the first step, is leaning into God. I don't care what you say. I don't care how much money you have, because you can have all the money in the world. You can have all the friends. You can have contracts coming in and out, but money don't make you happy. It is the peace of God, because I've had things, but it doesn't come near to where the peace of God, and everybody ain't got to understand it. It's not for everybody. Sometimes it's just for you, and it's for the people that God will send to you to make you see that, hey, this is what God wants me to do.
God, we thank you for the people who carry many roles with strength and grace, for the men and women, husbands, and even wives, and builders who pour into others daily. Restore them, God. Give them wisdom to know when to push forward and when to rest. Help them release guilt and embrace balance. Bless their families, their work, and the legacy they are creating. May they be reminded that they are seen, supported, and called for such a time as this. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Family, Chelly reminded us today that motherhood and ambition are not competing forces. They are interconnected callings. Her journey shows us that it's okay to pause, pivot, and come back stronger with clarity and confidence. The seasons may change, but purpose remains. If this conversation resonated with you, let it serve as a reminder that you don't have to sacrifice who you are to build what you're called to create. You can nurture your family, protect your marriage, and still pursue the vision placed inside of you. You are allowed to evolve, and you are allowed to do it on your own terms. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for listening to Digging Deep with Dr. Christie K. It is my sincere prayer that something you heard today sparked clarity, encouraged your heart, and inspired you to move forward with intention. If this episode impacted you, I encourage you to like, share, and leave a review. Your engagement helps us to continue to grow and create meaningful conversations that matter. Until next time, live well, lead with purpose, and continue to dig